Hey everyone, Jared Sandler here with you. Going to answer some of your questions. Appreciate those of you who submitted questions on Twitter. Try to answer a lot of them just on Twitter and a few that I've pulled here to answer for this quick little chat. First one comes from Matt Lawson, 99. Wants to know, where's the free agent market now for an impact outfielder? And are the Rangers better off trying to trade for one at this point? I think, short answer is it could be both, right? I don't think the Rangers have just one need in the outfield. They certainly could roll into this season with all current internal options. They could, try and make a play for a center fielder if they want to, push Leody Taveras and Bubba Thompson and not hand them anything. They could, I think most likely get a corner outfielder, someone to play left field. So that's kind of the landscape. I don't think anything is set. They obviously have a lot of, prospects in the system, some of whom are already outfielders, some of who could become outfielders just because of an opportunity and maybe lack thereof with their current position. Evan Carter's the name that, if you've been following me, that I'm super pumped about him, but he's not like a year away or anything. Aaron Zavala is another name people talk about. Maybe Luis Angel Acuna. He could become an outfielder depending on where the Rangers are at with their middle infield situation when he's ready. And there are a number of other options. As far as free agents, the guy who, I've talked about from the start, who's still available, but is being pursued by a number of teams is Michael Conforto, a guy who, is predominantly played right field, would likely play left field, or again, you can move Adolis Garcia to center. You can move Leody Taveras to left. You can, fill left field in, another manner because Leody Taveras didn't do anything to just guarantee himself a spot next year. Conforto's hit more than 25 homers 3 times in his career. He's only 30 years old, or will enter this season at 30 years old. He didn't play last year, had shoulder surgery. He's been cleared, so it appears that he's healthy. He's one of these guys who could really be an undervalued free agent. And he's also someone who, might not get or even want a multi-year deal. Whereas an Andrew Benintendi coming off the year he had, maybe he wants a multi-year deal. Maybe that doesn't fit for the Rangers with where they are. So I think a lot of it depends on the circumstance. And then obviously what's the opportunity in the trade market? And also how do the Rangers view their internal options long term? Maybe the Rangers, only want a guy for 1 or 2 years and then to reevaluate. Maybe they are ready to lock into someone long term. I think we'll have to wait and see. I think some names, you go to Arizona, Dalton Varsho's a name who could be available in the trade market. Ramon Laureano, Anthony Santander, Dylan Carlson, Max Kepler. Those are some names, worth kind of being on the lookout for in the trade market. Of course, there could be a big time, young guy, and you just make a big blockbuster type swap. But that's kind of how I see the Rangers, how I evaluate the outfield situation. Question from Carter: which highly touted prospect would you most be willing to part with in a major trade? And he mentions guys like Leiter, Rocker, Carter, White, Acuna. I mean, the guy that I maybe just, this is my bias here. I've been an Evan Carter fan since the day the Rangers drafted him, and I've not been afraid to share why. I loved Evan Carter because people the day the Rangers drafted him knocked the pick, even though they had zero idea who Evan Carter was before the pick was made. And that was a part of why they didn't like the pick, not because of their own evaluation or expertise, but because they looked at some list he was or was not on and then just went, berserk saying that the pick was awful. And so I just decided to, champion Evan Carter kind of as a, to heck with you, to, all these social media monsters out there. Evan Carter's growth has been such that I think it's incredibly exciting what the future holds. But the short answer is I don't mind trading any of them for the right guy. I'm not. You do need prospects, and the Rangers, with the money they've allocated in free agency this year, last year, and maybe what they still plan on doing, whether it's this offseason or next offseason, you need your prospects to hit because they represent cheap labor, right? And they're people you can get for a long period of time, because of their arbitration and pre-arbitration control. So I'm not necessarily saying let's trade them all away, but I'm not afraid to trade any of them. There's not a single prospect I'm like, gosh, it would be the biggest mistake in the world. This guy's a sure thing, because I don't think the Rangers have, that type of a guy. I don't think they have anyone who right now at this time I look at and say, you just can't trade him. You absolutely can't. I look at it more strategically and say, there's no reason why the Rangers have to trade these guys. And they're going to be such an important part of this team's growth and development. Let's not just give them away. But if I can get the right guy and in the right deal, there's not one I'm scared to trade away. If you're asking me who's the guy I'm most willing to trade away, it all depends on the value they bring, right? So, Kumar Rocker, maybe before he throws a pitch, maybe that's the move, but you got to wait a little bit before, you can't just do that. I'm not scared to trade Jack Leiter if I can get, a big time starting pitcher to add to this rotation, or if he's got to be the guy that you trade to get an elite kind of middle of the order bat who you're in search of. Question from Nick. It seems like left field and bullpen are the priority now. Who are some players, either free agents or trades, that best fit what the Rangers need? Also, do you think filling those roles makes the Rangers a legit contender for next season? To me, if you get in the playoffs, you're a contender. Because this is a little bit different. It's not like getting in the NBA playoffs as like the 6th seed, which is, exceedingly unlikely. Will they be a top end contender where you're going to see prognosticators pick the Rangers to win the World Series before the year? I think they might still be 1 year away from that. But I do think that the Rangers have a very good chance, even as their roster is currently constructed, to play meaningful baseball in September at a minimum. As far as the bullpen, a lot of the big name bullpen guys are gone. Craig Kimbrell's a big name, but not with big time production recently. I think where the Rangers might be best with their bullpen, A, is hopefully bringing back Matt Moore, and B, getting better production out of their starting pitching, to not expose their relievers, to not overwork their relievers, and to not ask them to, cover as many innings on a per game basis. And then having guys come up through the system and play a role that way. The Rangers rotation might not feature Dane Dunning or Cole Reagans or Cole Winn when he's ready, or Glenn Otto, or these young guys, but maybe they come up and just for this year fill a role in the bullpen. Maybe these guys are going to be assets in the bullpen. And then, as Jake Odorizzi moves on in free agency after this year, or if you keep him longer, or whatever the case might be, needs arise and those guys plug holes there. You're not going to want to do it with all these guys. You want some of them to be built up as a starter, but there's an opportunity there. Bullpen complexion is changing. The multi-inning reliever is way more of a thing. And so it makes it easier to have these guys kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out. A guy like Chase Lee could come up and make an impact. And there are a number of guys obviously in the system who, you don't even expect to play any sort of a role, who pop. They have a great spring and bam. Next thing you know, they're throwing 98, getting meaningful outs in the bullpen. As far as the outfield, we talked about that a second ago with the free agents, Andrew Benintendi, Michael Conforto, some other guys who, from an outfield standpoint, could make some sense. I don't see Michael Brantley being that guy, but wouldn't rule him out. Wouldn't rule out Jurickson Profar, although again, I don't see that being likely. A guy like Joey Gallo gets asked about a lot. Again, he's an option. I don't think it is likely. I don't think it's their first choice. I think if Michael Conforto goes elsewhere, then maybe it's worth readdressing the Joey Gallo question. But that's a great question, Nick. And then from Daniel, I think this is an interesting one. Here's our wildcard question. If the Padres' relationship with Fernando Tatis is worse than we thought or continues to sour, would it make sense for the Rangers to kick the tires on a trade and put him in the outfield? Yes, absolutely. Now, the Rangers just brought on Michaeline Curtis as their senior director of baseball operations. She was previously with the Padres. She, better than anyone else in this organization, knows what that relationship is like between the Padres and Tatis, and also would know whether that would be something worth pursuing. Is he just going to be a problem child? Is he worth it? Is he, always just going to have, a tough time staying on the field? Character-wise, is he the guy that you're going to want to acquire? Because I think the path that makes the most sense for the Rangers in acquiring him is saying, hey, to the Padres, we'll take on all the money. We won't give up much. You know, we're not going to give you a ton in way of prospects. Maybe we'll throw Cole Winn. Let's go Cole Winn and I don't know, Ricky Vanasco. I'm just throwing random names out there, but not like this elite big time prospect package. But we'll take on the contract if the Padres find value in that. Maybe they want that money allocated now to Juan Soto and to go and get someone else, or maybe they don't care about that and they'll say, hey, we'll split it, or there'll be some sort of split and the prospect package will go up. Now, I don't know that Fernando Tatis would be an outfielder for sure. He could be a shortstop. You know, that's the type of guy who, if you acquire him, maybe you have conversations and say, hey, this is where he best fits, or maybe it's third base, or maybe it is outfield. It's worth discussing. I'm not going to sit here and say for sure, though, that he's worth it, because there's a lot of baggage there already, and there is a contract there, and there is a long-term commitment already in place. So you really got to do your homework. But I think that's a really interesting topic, Daniel. And it's one that, you know, I imagine the Rangers have at least discussed internally, as most teams who have the type of capital or resources to take on a guy like Fernando Tatis. Great questions, guys. Talk to you later.